Good morning Year 9 and welcome to today's maths lesson. Hopefully you've all had a lovely restful half term and you're ready to do some more maths. Let's start off with a quick starter, shall we? Can you work out 4,051 plus 7,897? Can you then work out 3 squared for me? Can you multiply together 3/4 times 2/5? And then can you find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 12? Please pause the video and have a go at these questions in your light blue books now. Okay, let's go through the answers. So to do the addition, I'm going to put my larger number on the top, which is 7,897. I'm then going to put my smaller number on the bottom, which is 4,051. You could do it the other way up. I've chosen to do it this way just to make my life a little bit easier. 7 plus 1 gives me 8. 9 plus 5 gives me 14. 8 plus 1 gives me 9. And 7 plus 4 gives me what, Dylan? 11, lovely. I've got 11,948. Now 3 squared means what, Owen? 3 squared means 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. To multiply fractions, this is the easy one. We just multiply together our numerators. 3 times 2 gives me 6. And I multiply my denominators. 4 times 5 gives me 20. Can you simplify that, Sophie? Absolutely, we can divide top and bottom by 2. Which gives me 3/10. And my last question, what is the lowest common multiple of 4 and 12? Well, to work this out, I'm going to start off by writing down my multiples of 4, which would be 4, 8, 12, 16, etc., etc. My multiples of 12 are going to be 12, 24, and I'm going to stop there. So my lowest common multiple is the lowest number that's a multiple of both 4 and 12, which in this case is going to be 12. There it is. Okay, let's head into today's maths lesson. Here's our lesson destination of today. Mark is thinking of a square number whose digits add up to 7. Write down 2 numbers he could be thinking of. That's where we're headed. This is where we're starting. Square numbers. What is a square number, Rowan? Brilliant. A square number is a number that we make by multiplying another number by itself once. For example, if I had 2 squared, that would be 2 times 2. Which would give me my square number, which is 4. 3 squared would give me a square number, as that's 3 times 3. And my square number is 9. 4 squared would be 4 times 4. My square number is 16. And 5 squared is just 5 times 5. Which gives me 25. So all these numbers, 4, 9, 16 and 25, we call them square numbers. Hopefully this is just recapping something you already knew and bringing it to the top of your memory again. Why do we call them square numbers? We call 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36 square numbers because we can make these numbers by making a square of little squares. For example, 1 can be made from a square of 1. 4 can be made of a square that's 2 across and 2 up. That gives me 4 little squares altogether. I can make 9 with 3 little squares at the bottom and 3 up, which will give me 9 altogether, etc., etc. And that's why we call them square numbers. So, mini whiteboards or light blue books, what's 2 squared? Pause the video, have a little think. What's 2 squared, Josh? 4, bang on. 4's my square number. Mini whiteboards, what's 10 squared? Ryan, what's 10 squared? 100, brilliant, that's my square number. Okay, Year 9, can you pause the video and in your light blue books, please spend 5 to 10 minutes finding the square numbers in my top box, and if you finish that, can you put 3 whole numbers into the boxes at the bottom that will make the statement true? How many examples can you find? Pause the video and have a go at that in your light blue books now, please. And these are the answers. Please check your work and see how you did. I've circled all the square numbers that can be made by multiplying a whole number by itself. And at the bottom, I've come up with the example 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. You might have come up with some other examples as well. Okay, Year 9, in your dark blue books or on a neat piece of paper, can you write square number in the middle of your page? And at the top, can you write me what you think a definition of a square number is? Any characteristics of a square number? Any examples of square numbers you can think of? And any non-examples you can think of? Pause the video for 5 minutes and have a go at that in your dark blue books or on a neat piece of paper now. Okay, Year 9, this is what I came up with. I said the definition of a square number was the multiple created when a positive integer is multiplied by the same positive integer. For example, I can make 4 by multiplying a positive integer 2 by itself, 2. Characteristics, I said we square a number, we use a little 2 to indicate it. Examples of square numbers would be 4, 9, 100, 484, got very creative, 1 and 10,000, and some non-examples would be 1,000, 5, a quarter, -4, 10 and 2. 2 is not 1 squared because 1 times 1 would give me what, Rowan? 1, exactly. Make sure you've got this noted in your dark blue books, please, Year 9. Okay, so we've looked at squaring. What does square root mean? Well, square root means undoing the square. So before we said if we squared 3, we did 3 times 3 to give me 9. In doing the square root, we're identifying what that number is that we need to multiply by itself to get the 9. So we've realised by doing the square root that we need to do 3 times 3 to get 9, so the square root of 9 would be 3. In your dark blue books, can you note this down with the title Square Roots? And then pens down, eyes on me, I'll do an example and then you're going to do an example. Okay, so my example, I've been asked what's the square root of 25, which means to say what number multiplied by itself would give me 25. I know that 5 times 5 gives me 25. So the square root of 25 would be 5. It could also be -5, because -5 times -5 would give me 25. Don't worry about that one for now, just a little hint for what might come later. My next question, I've said 8 is the square root of what? So this time we're saying 8 times 8 gives me what? 8 times 8 gives me 64. So 64 goes underneath that square root sign. The square root of 64 is 8. So this question is asking me, what number do I get when I multiply 8 by itself? And therefore, what do I need to square root to get 8? Over to you, Year 9. In your dark blue books, can you have a go at these 2 examples? Pause the video for a minute or 2 and work those out now, please. Okay, let's go through the answers. The square root of 49, what times itself would give me 49? Well, 7 times itself would give me 49. So the square root of 49 is 7. 9 is the square root of what number? Well, 9 is the square root of 9 times 9, which would be 81. Let's check. 81 is made up of 9 times 9, so 9 is the square root of 81. Please make sure you've got these answers correct in your dark blue books on your neat piece of paper for me. Okay, and light blue books or mini whiteboards if you have one. What's 8 squared? Pause the video at any moment to have a little think if you need some extra time. Lilia, what's 8 squared? Great, 8 times 8, which will give me 64. Awesome. So what's the square root of 64? What number times itself will give me 64? Josh, what's the square root of 64? 8. Brilliant. So 8 is the square root of what number? Owen, 8 is the square root of what? 64. Brilliant. Okay, mini whiteboards. 4 squared. Charlotte, what's 4 squared? 4 times 4, brilliant, which is 16. So what's the square root of 16? What times itself will give me 16? Lilia? Great, the square root of 16 is 4. So 4 is the square root of what, Dylan? 4 is the square root of 16. Brilliant. What's 10 squared? Ryan, what's 10 squared? 10 times 10, which gives me 100. Lovely. What's the square root of 49? What times itself will give me 49? The square root of 49 is 7. 5 is the square root of what number? 5 is the square root of 25. Because 5 times 5 will give me 25, so the square root is finding out what number times itself will give me 25, which in this case is 5. And 3 is the square root of what number? 3 is the square root of 9. Lovely. Okay, Year 9, in your light blue books, please can you spend 15 minutes on these questions for me now. Pause the video and have a go at those. And here's the answers. Please check your work and see how you did. Okay, Year 9, can you pause the video for 5 minutes and have a go at these questions? If you're finding it easy, have a go at my extension questions for me now. And here are the answers. Please check how you did. Okay, some quick fire ABCD questions. I know you don't have ABCD cards, but please write down A, B, C or D in your light blue books. What is the missing square number? Right, let's work it out. 49 is 7 times 7. 64 is 8 times 8. 100 is 10 times 10. So my missing number must be 9 times 9, which is B, 81. Next one, in the following list of numbers, how many are square numbers? How many of 1, 2, 4, 6, 16, 32, 64, 122 and 169 are square numbers? How many can be made by multiplying a whole number by itself? Okay, let's have a look. 1 can be made by 1 times 1. 4 can be made by 2 times 2. 16 can be made by 4 times 4. 64 can be made by 8 times 8. And 169 can be made by 13 times 13. So the answer I was looking for was C. Okay, a square has an area of 36 millimeters squared. What's the length of one side of the square? Now to work this out, you need to work out what number multiplied by itself will give me 36, will give me the area of that square Pause the video, have a little think. And ABCD cards in 3, 2, 1. Great, we're looking for A, because 6 times 6 will give me 36. How about now? The area of the square is 64. What's the length of one side of the square? Great, we're looking for C, because 8 times 8 will give me 64. And finally, remember our lesson destination from earlier on? Mark is thinking of a square number whose digits add up to 7. Write down 2 numbers he could be thinking of. Pause the video and have a little think for me. Okay, so numbers you could have come up with. You could have come up with 16, as that's 4 times 4, and 1 plus 6 gives me 7. You could have also come up with 25, which is 5 times 5, and 5 plus 2 gives me 7. And that's the end of today's lesson, Year 9. Can you now head over to Google Classroom and submit today's exit ticket for me? Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.